Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and Shabbat Shalom. So, the talk now, of course, is about when we will open up and when we'll begin to go back. The bottom line hope, which I have, is that it will all be guided by medical evidence and science, health, and care for ourselves. At the same time that we do understand that there's going to have to be a gradual process to going out again and to opening up our businesses and our institutions, but it shouldn't be done too soon because what's most important is that we remain healthy. It made me think of a certain juxtaposition that exists in this day, today, and our Torah reading. Because today is the 14th day of Iyar, and it actually has a name that's given by our tradition through the Torah. It's known as Pesach Sheni. Pesach Sheni was the day that the rabbis determined one would celebrate Passover if one was not able to bring the Passover offering on the regular date of Pesach. So there were a couple of things that would make one unable to bring the offering, and they were given a second chance. Second chances are really important. Additionally, in the Torah reading this week, we read about some of the obligations of the Kohen, of the priest, and things that they can do and they can't do. And one of the things that we know about the priest and the priesthood is that it was supposed to be completely dedicated to an affirmation of life. And so priests were not to have any contact with the dead. The question arose as to what would happen if a member of a priest's family died. As we know, Kohanim, priests, aren't to go to cemeteries. Legal fictions are created that allow them on the road outside the cemetery or through the paths in the cemetery, but the law is that they're not allowed. But what happens if a mother or a father, a sister, a brother, a daughter, or a son, or a spouse die? Well, there the Torah makes an exception and says, under those circumstances, the priest can come closer to death. Both of these situations, both Pesach Sheni and then the priest in connection with family death, are about self-correctives. The realization that no law can have ultimate importance or be absolute if, in fact, it's counterindicative to the most important values. In this case, it was about life, or about the celebration of a really important holiday. And so both of those come to teach us something about our rigidity and our willingness to compromise. Most of us have been really rigid in terms of our protecting ourselves with this virus. We've been really careful to stay inside, to stay away from people. And yet we know there's going to be a time where some of that's going to have to be let down. And we're going to have to approach towards people. But we will always, at least for the time being, I should say, keep social distancing. Maybe one of the signs of maturity is knowing when we are rigid and when we compromise, when we follow a rule to the letter of the law, and when we take the law and realize that it's meant to represent, reflect, or protect a greater value. And that, I think, is part of the beauty of living as part of the Jewish tradition. Lots and lots of laws. But the laws are meant to help us create a community of holiness. The laws are meant to bring us towards higher ethical living and a sense of God's presence in this world and within each of us. So as we move out, I hope that sense of fear dissipate, and at the same time that we remain as careful as possible with how we go out into the world, into our jobs, into the stores, etc. Remain careful, and I wish you all Shabbat Shalom.